Welcome back to ABC General Hospital. Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issue of Drew Kane's devastating discovery that changes everything he thought he knew about Willow Crintos and the shocking shooting that nearly took his life. This explosive storyline has left Port Charles reeling and fans on the edge of their seats as one of the most beloved characters faces an impossible decision that will change multiple lives forever. The current situation in Port Charles has reached a boiling point that nobody could have anticipated just weeks ago. Willow Crintos finds herself at the center of a criminal investigation that threatens to destroy everything she has built with her family. The accusations against her are serious and potentially life-altering. Authorities believe that Willow is the person responsible for shooting Drew Kane in what appeared to be a targeted attack. The evidence seems to be mounting against her, with investigators piecing together a case that places Willow at the scene of the crime with motive means an opportunity. The Port Charles Police Department has been working around the clock to build their case, and all signs point to Willow as the prime suspect in this attempted murder investigation. Drew Kane stands firmly in Willow's corner from the very beginning of this nightmare. Despite being the victim of the shooting himself, Drew refuses to believe that Willow could be capable of such violence. His faith in her remains unshakable even as the evidence continues to pile up against her. Drew knows Willow as a kind, compassionate woman who has always put her family first and who would never intentionally hurt anyone, let alone attempt to take someone's life. The mere suggestion that Willow could pull the trigger on a gun aimed at him seems absolutely ridiculous to Drew, and he makes his position crystal clear to anyone who will listen. He defends Willow passionately to the police, to his family, and to anyone in Port Charles who dares to suggest that she might be guilty of this heinous crime. As the legal walls begin to close in around Willow and the prosecution builds what they believe is an airtight case against her, Drew realizes that he needs to take drastic action to protect the woman he cares about so deeply. The threat of Willow being convicted and sent to prison for a crime he believes she didn't commit drives Drew to make an extraordinary decision that shocks everyone in Port Charles. Drew proposes marriage to Willow, not out of romance or a declaration of undying love, but as a strategic legal maneuver designed to shield her from the full force of the criminal justice system. Under spousal privilege laws, Drew knows that he cannot be compelled to testify against Willow if they are legally married. This protection could prove crucial in undermining the prosecution's case and potentially save Willow from a lengthy prison sentence. The decision to marry Willow represents a massive sacrifice on Drew's part and demonstrates just how far he is willing to go to protect someone he believes is innocent. Drew doesn't hesitate or second guess us himself when he formulates this plan. He approaches Willow with the proposal, explaining the legal benefits and making it clear that he wants to do everything in his power to help her through this crisis. The marriage would be a union born out of necessity rather than passion, a legal shield rather than a romantic commitment. But Drew believes it is the right thing to do. He cannot stand by and watch Willow be railroaded by a justice system that seems determined to convict her based on Circumstantial evidence and coincidence. The wedding plans move forward quickly. As the legal proceedings against Willow accelerate, there is no time for an elaborate ceremony or months of preparation. Drew and Willow understand that they need to formalize their union as soon as possible to maximize the legal protections it will afford them. The atmosphere surrounding their impending nuptials is tense and charged with anxiety rather than joy and celebration. This is not the fairy tale wedding that either of them might have imagined for themselves under different circumstances. Instead, it is a desperate gambit to save Willow from a fate that Drew believes she doesn't deserve. Friends and family members watch the situation unfold with a mixture of concern, confusion, and skepticism. Some people question whether Drew is making a terrible mistake by tying himself legally to someone who might actually be guilty. Others admire his unwavering loyalty and his willingness to put everything on the line for Willow. Then everything changes in a single devastating moment that Drew will never be able to forget. Through a series of events that he could never have anticipated, Drew accidentally stumbles upon information that confirms his worst nightmare. The discovery comes when Drew least expects it, perhaps through overheard conversations, discovered evidence, or a moment when Willow's carefully constructed facade finally cracks. The truth that Drew uncovers is more shocking and more painful than anything he could have imagined. Willow actually did shoot him. The woman he has been defending so passionately, the woman he is preparing to marry to save from prosecution, is genuinely guilty of the crime she has been accused of committing. Willow really pulled the trigger. She really aimed a gun at Drew and fired the shot that could have ended his life. Every protest of innocence, every tearful denial, every moment of playing the victim has been an elaborate lie. The realization hits Drew like a physical blow that leaves him reeling and unable to process what he has learned. His entire world turns upside down in an instant as he grapples with this horrifying truth. The woman he trusted, the woman he was willing to sacrifice his own future to protect, actually tried to kill him. Drew's mind races as he tries to understand how this could be possible. What motivated Willow to commit such a violent act? What could Drew have possibly done to make Willow believe that shooting him was the only option? The questions pile up faster than Drew can process them, and the answers seem impossibly far away. Drew feels betrayed on a level that cuts deeper than the physical wound from the gunshot. This is an emotional and psychological trauma that threatens to break him completely. Panic sets in as Drew realizes the full implications of what he has discovered. He is about to marry someone who actually tried to murder him. He has been defending Willow's innocence to everyone who would listen, staking his reputation and his credibility on his belief in her. Now he knows that he has been played for a fool. Every conversation they have had since the shooting takes on a sinister new meaning. Willow has been lying to him day after day, looking him in the eye and denying responsibility for an act that she absolutely committed. The manipulation is breathtaking in its audacity and its cruelty. Drew feels Sick as he thinks about how Willow has used his trust and his feelings for her to escape justice for her crime. Regret washes over Drew in powerful ways as he contemplates the enormous mistake he has nearly made. If he had gone through with the marriage without discovering the truth, he would have helped a criminal escape punishment for attempting to take his life. He would have made a mockery of the justice system and betrayed every principle he holds dear. The wedding. That seemed like such a noble gesture just hours or days ago now appears to be the height of foolishness. Drew cannot believe that he allowed himself to be deceived so completely. His judgment, which he has always prided himself on, has failed him utterly in this situation. The self-ramation is almost as painful as the betrayal itself. Now, Drew faces an impossible decision that will haunt him regardless of which path he chooses. On one hand, he could expose Willow's guilt and allow the justice system to proceed with prosecuting her for the shooting. This would mean that Willow would almost certainly be convicted and sent to prison for a significant length of time. She would lose her freedom, her family, and any chance at the life she has been building. Drew knows that sending Willow to prison would devastate her children and tear apart the Corinthos family. The collateral damage would be enormous, affecting innocent people who have done nothing wrong. On the other hand, Drew could choose to say nothing about what he has discovered. He could go through with the marriage as planned and use spousal privilege to protect Willow from prosecution. He could forgive her for the shooting and try to move forward, even though she violated his trust in the most fundamental way possible. This option would allow Willow to maintain her freedom and stay with her family, but it would require Drew to live with the knowledge that he helped someone who tried to kill him escape punishment for that crime. Could Drew really forgive such a betrayal? Could he look at Willow every day and not think about the moment when she pointed a gun at him and pulled the trigger? The psychological toll of such a choice would be immense and potentially unbearable. Drew's internal struggle represents one of the most complex moral dilemmas that General Hospital has presented in recent memory. There is no clear right answer, no obvious path forward that doesn't involve tremendous pain and sacrifice. If Drew chooses justice and truth, he condemns Willow to prison and destroys her family. If he chooses mercy and forgiveness, he betrays himself and every value he has fought to uphold throughout his life. The weight of this decision threatens to crush Drew under its enormity. He lies awake at night, turning the question over and over in his mind, trying to find some solution that doesn't involve devastating consequences. The question of forgiveness looms large in Drew's thoughts as he wrestles with what to do. Can he truly forgive Willow for shooting him? Forgiveness is not just about saying the words or going through the motions. Real forgiveness would require Drew to let go of his anger, his hurt, and his sense of betrayal. It would mean accepting what Willow did and choosing not to seek revenge or punishment. Drew has always considered himself a forgiving person, someone who believes in second chances and redemption. But this situation tests the limits of his capacity for forgiveness in ways he never imagined possible. Shooting someone is not a minor transgression or A simple mistake that can be easily overlooked. It is an act of violence that could have ended Drew's life and left his family without a father, son, and friend. At the same time, Drew cannot ignore the reality of what will happen to Willow if he turns her into the authorities. Prison is a harsh and unforgiving environment that will fundamentally change Willow as a person. She will be separated from her children during crucial years of their development. Why and Amelia will grow up with their mother behind bars, visiting her in a sterile visitation room instead of having her present for birthdays, holidays, and all the small moments that make up a childhood. The thought of those innocent children suffering for their mother's crime tears at Drew's heart. He knows that they are the real victims in this situation, caught in the crossfire of adult decisions and actions that they have no control over. Drew also has to consider the broader implications of whatever choice he makes. If he helps Willow avoid prosecution, what message does that send? Does it suggest that people with the right connections can commit serious crimes and escape punishment? Does it undermine the rule of law and the principle that everyone should be held accountable for their actions? Drew has always believed in doing the right thing even when it is difficult. But in this case, he cannot even determine what the right thing actually is. The moral calculus is too complex with too many variables and too many people who will be affected by his decision. The pressure on Drew intensifies with each passing day. As the wedding date approaches, and he still has not decided what to do, people around him notice that something is wrong. Drew is distracted, anxious, and unable to focus on normal conversations or activities. His behavior raises questions and concerns among his friends and family members. But Drew cannot share the burden he is carrying with anyone. The knowledge of Willow's guilt is a secret that isolates him even as he desperately needs support and guidance. Drew knows that the moment he reveals what he has learned, the decision will be taken out of his hands. The truth will spread quickly through Port Charles and events will unfold according to their own logic, regardless of what Drew wants. In quieter moments, Drew finds himself thinking about the actual shooting and trying to imagine what must have been going through Willow's mind. What drove her to such a desperate act? Was she protecting someone? Was she acting under some kind of threat or coercion? Was there a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control? Drew wants to understand the context and the motivation behind Willow's actions, but he is afraid to confront her directly. A confrontation would force the issue and potentially trigger a chain of events that cannot be stopped or reversed. As long as Drew keeps his discovery to himself, he retains some control over the situation and the power to determine what happens next. The ethical dimensions of Drew's dilemma extend beyond just his personal feelings about Willow and what she did to him. There is also the question of what he owes to society and to the justice system. As a citizen and as someone who has served his country and his community, Drew understands that the legal system depends on people telling the truth and cooperating with investigations. If he withholds evidence and allows a criminal to go free, he becomes complicit in undermining that System. Future victims of crime might suffer because Drew chose personal loyalty over civic duty. These are not abstract philosophical questions, but real considerations that weigh heavily on Drew's conscience. As the story continues to unfold, viewers are left wondering what Drew will ultimately decide and how his choice will reshape the landscape of Port Charles. Will Drew choose forgiveness and mercy, allowing Willow to escape punishment in order to protect her children and preserve what remains of their relationship, or will he choose justice and truth, turning Willow over to the authorities, even though it means she will spend years behind bars? Either decision will have profound consequences that ripple through multiple storylines and affect virtually every character connected to Drew and Willow. The writers of General Hospital have crafted a scenario that has no easy answers and no simple resolution, forcing Drew to confront the most difficult choice of his life. The psychological complexity of this storyline offers incredible opportunities for character development and dramatic tension. Drew must examine his own values and priorities in ways that reveal new depths to his personality. Is he fundamentally someone who values mercy over justice? Does he believe that people deserve second chances even after committing terrible acts? How does his military background and his sense of honor influence his thinking about this situation? All of these questions come into play as Drew struggles toward a decision. The audience gets to see Drew at his most vulnerable and conflicted, stripped of the confident exterior he usually presents to the world. Willow's character is also transformed by this storyline in ways that viewers could not have predicted. The revelation that she actually committed the shooting recontextualizes everything we thought we knew about her. What secrets is she keeping? What pressures or circumstances drove her to pull the trigger? As more details emerge about why Willow shot Drew, the audience will gain insight into her mental state and her motivations. This development has the potential to make Willow a far more complex and morally ambiguous character than she has been in the past. No longer is she simply the sweet, innocent victim of false accusations. Instead, she becomes someone capable of violence under certain circumstances. Someone who can lie convincingly to the people who trust her most. The impact of this storyline on other characters in Port Charles cannot be overstated. Michael Corinthos will be devastated to learn what his wife has done and the elaborate deception she has maintained. Nina will face her own moral crisis as she decides whether to support her daughter or demand accountability for her actions. Carly will undoubtedly have strong opinions about what Drew should do, and her advice may conflict with what others are telling him. The Quartermain family will also be deeply affected by these developments as they walked one of their own struggle with an impossible decision. Every character who knows Drew and Willow will be forced to choose sides and grapple with their own beliefs about forgiveness, justice, and loyalty. The legal aspects of the story add another layer of complexity and intrigue. What evidence exists to prove Willow's guilt beyond Drew's word? Can prosecutors build a successful case without Drew's testimony if he chooses to marry Willow and invoke spousal privilege? What deals might the district attorney offer in exchange for cooperation? The courtroom drama that could potentially unfold provides endless possibilities for tense confrontations and shocking revelations. Skilled attorneys will battle over Willow's fate, deploying every legal strategy and argument they can muster. The trial, if it goes forward, would be one of the most gripping storylines General Hospital has featured in years. Ultimately, this storyline forces viewers to confront their own beliefs about forgiveness, justice, and the nature of right and wrong. There are compelling arguments on both sides of Drew's dilemma, and different viewers will undoubtedly come to different conclusions about what he should do. Some will argue that Willow deserves punishment for attempting to take Drew's life, regardless of her circumstances or motivations. Others will contend that mercy and compassion should prevail, especially considering the impact on innocent children. The debate will play out not just on screen, but in fan communities and social media discussions, as people passionately defend their positions. This is the kind of complex, emotionally resonant storytelling that makes General Hospital essential viewing for soap opera fans. The show has taken a familiar setup involving false accusations and legal jeopardy and twisted it in an unexpected direction that raises profound questions about human nature and moral responsibility. Drew's discovery that Willow actually shot him is not just a plot twist for the sake of shot value. It is a revelation that fundamentally alters the trajectory of multiple characters and creates genuine suspense about what will happen next. The writers have placed Drew in an impossible position where any choice he makes will haunt him for the rest of his life. And that is precisely what makes this storyline so compelling and so devastatingly effective as drama.